The snow hadn't even started yet when I made the promise I'd regret. "I'll be out of here by midnight," I told my roommate on the phone, tucking it between my shoulder and ear while I signed in at the desk of Willow Creek District Hospital. "It's just a dusting," they said. By 9, it wasn't a dusting. It was a wall. I found Dr. Ben Sutter in the break room, arms crossed, staring at the muted television like it had personally offended him. The weatherman's mouth moved under a red banner that read, "Winter Emergency. Travel not advised." "You believe this?" I said. 2 hours ago it was sunny." "Welcome to Ohio," he said, without looking at me. "You're new enough you still trust the forecast. I stopped trusting it back in October." I didn't love him yet. I want to be honest about that, because it would be easy to tell you I felt something the second I saw him, and that's not how it happened. What I felt for the first 6 weeks I worked under him was mostly irritation. He double-checked my charting like he didn't trust it. He asked questions in front of patients that felt like little tests. I'd gone home more than once and complained to my roommate that Dr. Sutter treated every nurse like a liability until proven otherwise. But that night, watching him watch the snow, I noticed something I hadn't before: how tired he looked. Not sleepy tired, worn tired. The kind that comes from caring about something for a long time without anyone noticing. "You should head out while Route 12's still passable," I said. "Can't. I'm covering till morning. Delgado's stuck in Cleveland. Flight's grounded." He finally looked at me. "You should go, though. You've got that little car. My little car has survived 4 Michigan winters. This isn't Michigan snow. This is the kind that eats little cars." He wasn't wrong, and we both learned that within the hour, when I walked out to move my car closer to the door and found it already buried to the wheel wells, the plow having shoved a fresh drift straight across the lot. By 10, the county called to say Route 12 was closed in both directions. By 11, the hospital's night administrator sent a message to all on-duty staff that amounted to, "You're here till the road's clear, so get comfortable." Comfortable turned out to be a break room with 2 vending machines, a couch that smelled like old coffee, and Ben Sutter across from me with his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up, looking less like the doctor who annoyed me and more like a man who hadn't sat still in about 14 hours. "So," I said, because the silence was starting to feel like something I needed to fill. "Since we're stuck, truce." He raised an eyebrow. "Were we at war?" "You've corrected my charting 9 times this month," I counted. 10, actually. You missed the potassium note on the Hendrix chart." I threw a stress ball from the desk at him. Badly aimed, it missed by a foot, and for the first time since I'd started at Willow Creek, I heard him laugh. Really laugh, not the dry huff he gave when a resident said something dumb on rounds. It changed his whole face. "You're not what I expected," I admitted. "Neither are you," he said. "I thought you were going to quit inside a month. Most new hires do, first hard winter." "Why do you say things like that? Like you're daring people to leave?" He was quiet a second too long. "Because most of them do, and it's easier if you expect it." There was a story under that, I could tell, the way you can tell a hallway leads somewhere even before you've walked it. But the overhead radio crackled before I could ask, and dispatch's voice cut through. "A car off the road on Route 9. 1 patient, ambulance already struggling through the drifts." We were up and moving before either of us finished the thought we'd started. The next 3 hours blurred the way night shifts do when the weather turns everything urgent. The patient came in cold and scared and, thank God, mostly fine. A sprained wrist, a concussion they'd monitor, a lot of relief once we got him warmed up and talking. I held his hand while Ben checked his pupils, and I watched Ben's face soften into something patient and careful that had nothing to do with the gruffness he wore like armor during the day. It undid something in me, watching that. It's a strange thing, falling for someone through the crack in their competence, seeing the tenderness they only let out when they think no one's grading it. By 2 a.m, the patient was stable and sleeping. The storm was still screaming outside, and Ben and I were back in the break room with 2 cups of vending machine cocoa that tasted like cardboard and felt like gold. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Why do you brace for people leaving?" He turned the cup in his hands. "Had a partner, not romantic, work partner, back in Toledo. ER doc, best I ever worked with. She left for a job in Arizona 2 years in. Didn't even give me a heads up till her last week. I got used to building things with people who don't stay. That's not fair to the rest of us." "I know," he said, and it cost him something to say it, I could tell. "I've been doing it anyway." Outside, the wind threw snow against the window hard enough to rattle it, and for a second, neither of us said anything, just sat in the hum of the vending machines and the low mechanical breath of the building around us. I thought about all the nights I'd spent annoyed at this man, cataloguing his corrections like evidence in a case against him, and I wondered how much of that had actually been about something else, the way you sometimes pick fights with the person you're most aware of in a room. "I'm not going to Arizona," I said. "You don't know that. You're 26. You've got time to want 100 things you don't want yet." "Maybe. But I'm here right now, snowed in with a man who alphabetizes his complaints about my charting, and somehow I don't want to be anywhere else." I said it lighter than I felt it, the way you do when you're testing whether a thing is true by saying it out loud. He looked at me for a long moment, long enough that I started to worry I'd misjudged the whole night, and then he reached over and, very carefully, like he was asking permission with his hands instead of his mouth, tucked a piece of hair back from my face. "I don't do this," he said. "Co-workers. It's a bad idea. I've seen it go badly." "I've seen it go badly too," I said. "I've also seen it go well. I don't think either of us knows which this is yet." "No," he agreed. "We don't." We didn't kiss that night. I want to be honest about that too, because the tidy version of this story would have us falling into each other under the vending machine lights while the snow buried the parking lot, and that's not what happened. What happened was smaller, and, I think, better. We talked until 4 in the morning, about Toledo and Michigan, and the things we were both still bracing for, and when dawn came grey and quiet over 3 feet of snow, we walked out to the lot together to help each other dig out, laughing at how useless our shovels were against a drift that tall. It's been 8 months since that storm. I still catalogue his corrections, half out of habit and half because it makes him laugh when I hold up a finger and say that's 11. He still braces some days for me to leave. I catch it in his face sometimes, a flicker of the old habit, and I've learned that loving someone who expects to be left means proving it a little differently every week instead of once and being done with it. I think about that night a lot, honestly. How close I came to just being annoyed at him forever. How easily the whole thing could have stayed a workplace irritation instead of becoming this. I wonder sometimes how many people spend years working beside someone, mistaking the noticing for dislike, and never get snowed in long enough to find out they were wrong. I got lucky. The storm gave us the hours we wouldn't have made time for on our own. I don't know if I'd have gotten there without it, and some nights that thought unsettles me more than the memory of the storm itself ever could.